The mid-year book freak-out tag. Everything has to get pushed to the middle of the table so that the dog doesn't get it off the table. That's where we're at in the puppy phase. They did an operation on him and he's fixed, if you know what I mean. Like fixed. Yes, fixed. Yes, that kind of fixed. Yeah. You'll see. He's got a cone head. It's me, Jess. I'm here. It's the middle of the year, so you know what time it is. Oh, look at the little cone head. Oh, hey, little cone head. Hi, little cone head. He's being a very good Mr. Conehead. You're being a very good Mr. Conehead, aren't you? Guys, he's 12 kilos. I think I got a golden doodle. This is not a cockapoo. So, I'm just surrounded by books at the moment. I have so many books that I'm reading right now. I don't know how many I'm reading right now. 4, 5, 6. So I started a few before I went away on vacation. Didn't finish those. Didn't put them in a suitcase. Put new ones in the suitcase. Started those. I have quite a few books going at the moment. It's kind of hilarious. I don't really want to mess with my camera, so I'm afraid my head's going to be cut off for part of this. And who knows what else. Last time when I filmed, I had lipstick on my teeth. I honestly can't see well enough through the viewfinder to be able to tell what's happening and if there's an issue until I'm editing. And then it's too late, you know? Okay, wait, what's it called now? I prepared for this. You guys, I actually prepared for this video. It's my first time doing this one, I think. I don't think I did one last year when I started BookTube. Okay, but I really did prepare. I got my kombucha. My blue. This is actually peach and mango flavored, but it's blue. I don't know. I don't have the original questions in front of me, but I watched someone else's version of this and just jotted down the questions, so I hope they're right. This is how I prepare, yes. Okay, so I have it as the mid-year freak-out tag for 2022. It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day to take away women's rights. We are June 24th, which in Quebec is Saint-Jean-Baptiste, which is the Fête Nationale of Quebec. People are partying. It's going to be 30 degrees today, 30 degrees tomorrow. It's going to be lots of fireworks and noise. The dogs are going to freak out. I can't wait. I'm so excited. I broke out the blue kombucha. But that's not why we're here today. We're here for the mid-year freak out book tag. And I wanted to just quickly review some of my 2022 goals at the same time, because I did set quite a few goals for myself and I want to see where I'm at, do a goals check-in. I would rather not film another video, so we're doing it all together. So the first thing that I looked at was my Goodreads goals in terms of the number of books I hope to read in 2022, and I'm doing really well on that front. Actually, not as well as I was doing before I went away, because I'm kind of been in a bit of a reading slump for the last 3 weeks, but it's picking up again. I read a lot this morning and I read a lot yesterday, so it's actually picking back up again. So it was a pretty minor blip. So far I've read 37 books and I'm 2 books ahead of schedule according to my Goodreads goal of 75 books for the year. So I'm pretty pleased with that. I had a couple of other goals that I'd set, and I'll just go through them each real quick. There are 5 of them. The first was to participate in reading challenges, which I have been doing, but perhaps just a few too many, because I do feel as if I'm letting down my team for the Desertathon Readathon. I'm hoping I can pull through in the last 6 days of the month. I apologize, everybody out there who's on the Celestial Cupcakes team. I apologize, Eric, at Break Even Books. It's just not been my readathon. I pulled for you in the December readathon, but not this month. So anyway, every book counts, I'm sure, towards the team's total. So yeah, I'm bombing that. I think I'll probably only get 3 or 4 books read. But in terms of the number of challenges that I've done this year, I've done May the Force Read With You, the Desertathon readathon. I did the Rent readathon. That's already 3, and I wanted to do 5. That's on track. No problems there. So the number of books total is on track. The readathons is on track, and that's about it. Because I wanted to read 2 French books, and oof, well, I did start my first French book of the year. I put one on a TBR in January, which I didn't touch. And then now I started my first French book. It's an Agatha Christie that I found in the book box. And this is how far we are, guys. This is how far I've gotten. So my goal of 2 French books, I kind of have to make it a priority. So there's that. This one is Le Meurtre de Roger Ackroyd, because I really do want to read 2 French books. I only read one last year, so I'm really hoping to pull that off. Read at least 5 books from former TBRs. Yeah, I don't think I'm doing very well on this one either. I think I read 2 or 3 books from former TBRs, so I need to prioritize that. Read 5 books by authors I discovered in 2021. So June is a hilarious month for meeting this goal because I think I've started and have on my TBR 3 books by authors that I've read before. I have Flights by Olga Tokarczuk, Freshwater by Akwaeke and Emezi, and I have Bitter Orange by Claire Fuller. Bitter Orange by Claire Fuller. See, I'm into it. Freshwater, I'm into it. Flights, I haven't started. Wah, wah. I mean, I'm trying. It's good to have goals, right? Doesn't necessarily mean that you meet them. So those are all like on the future, that's all on the future reading list. But yeah, I haven't done super well with that one. I think I read one. I read one. So I read one mystery called The Disappearing Act by Catherine Steadman. Oh, that was so good. I don't have the physical copy, so I think I'll probably meet that goal. Russian classics. I have read Crime and Punishment. Yes. Was so proud of myself for reading Crime and Punishment, but I haven't read any others. Oh, I have my work cut out for me. I think I had a set of 10 classics I wanted to read this year. I think I've read a few of them, but I just haven't read as many as I'd hoped. I'm having a mid-range reading year, let's put it that way. But compared to last year, I'm doing much better. Just in terms of keeping this channel up. Like, I'm impressed with myself for just keeping this channel up, y'all. And actually, I'm going to be going back to work in the fall, so I'm really going to be impressed with myself if I can keep it up during my work. But I've kept it up while having a puppy, so I'd say I'm doing pretty well. I've kept it up while taking care of my dad, who's very ill. So I think I'll keep it up. So that's a goals review. I would say I'm doing pretty well with my goals. I'm not like hitting it out of the park, but I'm doing okay with my goals. I'm not mad at myself. The first question for the tag is, what is the best book that you've read this year in 2022? Wow, they really start with a hard question. Like, I have a hard time getting to the 10 best books that I've read for the year. That's a really tough question. I think I've given 5 stars. I think 8. 8 out of 37. That's like more than 20%. That's quite a few. So it was really difficult for me to choose one. One that I've chosen is considered to be a classic, and I tend to break up my bests from contemporary fiction to classics, but I don't really have a best for contemporary fiction in my mind yet. So I'm going to talk about Kindred. I don't have this is like an anthology of hers that I was given for Christmas. Isn't it pretty? And this has Kindred, Fledgling, and Collected Stories. Kindred is the first Butler book that I've ever read, and oh my gosh, was it just so great. Yes, it was so great. I loved it so much. Definitely one of the best books maybe that I've ever read. It's interesting. My daughter and I were talking about this because she's reading Beloved, and I haven't read Beloved yet. We were talking about how much harder Black authors would have to work and how much better their work would have to be to get published and to become popular. And I think that's absolutely true. And it certainly shows with Kindred. Kindred is just a fantastic book. It follows the story of Tana, a Black woman it's set in the 70s. And it's also, I guess it's like historical fiction. It's classified as sci-fi as well. She goes back in time into the era of slavery. And she is pulled back in time to save a boy's life, and then the story unfolds of why she's there to save his life. We get the story of a modern woman's experience of slavery, and it's made even more interesting because she's in an interracial marriage with a white man, and he goes back in time with her at one point. Oh, it's just fantastic. It's such a good book. I'll put a link to where I actually talked about in more detail the review of this book in the cards up here. So yeah, I would say that's my favorite book so far this year. Second question, what is the best sequel you read so far this year? Okay, so I don't really read sequels. I'm not like a series reader, as you know. But I did get into, I did get back kind of into two mystery series, one being the Tana French Dublin Murder Squad, which I'm reading the second book, but ironically I haven't read the first book yet. I mean, I just started this and I just started it on audiobooks, so I can't really say if it's the best, but it is the second book in a series that I'm reading this year, so I guess that I'll mention it here. The other thing is that I started a series, I started Kate Atkinson's Jackson Brodie series with Case Histories, and I haven't wrapped this yet because I read it in May and I haven't done my May wrap up yet. I'm going to do a May-June wrap up together, and I'll be talking about this book. And I might be talking about this book if I get it, if I finish listening to it by then. But I really enjoyed this. This was so good. So that's really fun. And I've been looking everywhere in used bookstores to try to find copies of the next one in the series, but I haven't found one yet. So that's about all I can say about my favorite, the best sequel I've read. And I don't even know if those qualify as sequels. Do those qualify as sequels? I don't know. Third question. A new release that you just haven't gotten to yet. School for Good Mothers by Jessamine Chan. It sounds terrifying. It sounds very fitting to be reading now, considering the political situation. This story is supposed to be dystopian fiction about a woman who, I don't know if she's like on her playground or where she is with her child, but something happens with her child. The woman's name is Frida, and she's struggling as a new mother, and she has a very bad day. And the state, it has a big brother-like feel to it, and the state gets wind of her being not doing a very good job, or because of a moment of poor judgment. And so her daughter Harriet, there's the threat that they might take her daughter away from her, so now she has to prove that she's a good mother. And I think she has to, if it's a robot that she has to, I heard somewhere that it was a robot that she has to raise, but I'm not sure. I like to leave it loose so I don't know everything, but look at this cover. This is actually a really cool cover. It's funny, the last question is, what's your favorite cover, or what's the most beautiful book? This is a really cool cover. It's really giving me that 3D effect right now as I hold it up in the viewfinder. Oh, that's a really cool cover. Anyway, so that's on my radar. I'm hoping to read that really soon. Most anticipated release of 2022. I guess it's for the next half of the year. My most anticipated release was The Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel, but I haven't picked it up because I don't like to buy books in hardcover, so I know I will have to wait until next year to get it in soft cover, and I don't think I can wait that long to read it because I've been hearing really good things about it. I also noticed that Sarah Gailey, whose book The Echo Wife I read last year and loved, has a new book coming out in July called Just Like Home, which I'm pretty excited to read. Sarah Gailey's Just Like Home is a gripping Gothic horror thriller that oozes dread, drips with suspense, and bleeds terror. Perfect! Biggest disappointment so far this year. Okay, this is going to be so controversial. Please don't come for me. Please don't come for me. Everybody's going to come for me. And the worst is, because it's a tag, I'm not even really going to be able to explain much why I feel this way, but I finished Jane Eyre. I finished Jane Eyre because we went to the Bronte parsonage, as everybody knows. And can I just say that I don't get it? I mean, I kind of get it. Like, I do think that it's important to read Jane Eyre because then you can discuss Jane Eyre. And I know that people like to discuss Jane Eyre, and I'm glad I read it, but I didn't like Jane Eyre. Sorry, everybody. Why didn't I like Jane Eyre? I mean, I have a ton of notes, but first of all, 600 pages, 500 pages, and I picked up The Wide Sargasso Sea, which I'm going to read, but what? I don't understand what all the hype is about Jane Eyre. I guess I don't know. I'm also like, can I just, Mr. Rochester? Like what is the attraction? I don't know. Definitely was a disappointment for me because it had been so hyped up. And also I think the problem for me in reading Jane Eyre and not being able to love it is that, like, I love Wuthering Heights, and I guess they're always pitted against each other, but I'm sorry. Maybe I should have read Jane Eyre first, and then I would have thought, oh, you know, relative to Jane Austen, this is way more interesting, but I'm reading it relative to Wuthering Heights, and I'm like, meh, you know, like it was okay. So yeah, I know people are going to come at me for that one, but I'll talk more about it in my wrap up. I'll get my thoughts together on it. I don't know. I just was a little, you know, yeah. Biggest surprise. What was a book that surprised you? Open Water was my biggest surprise so far this year. I didn't think I was going to like this book. I mean, it was so good. I was concerned that I wouldn't be able to get into this book because it's written in it's narrated from the second person, but it's so beautiful, this book. It's such a good book. I will be recommending this to everybody and giving it as gifts to loads and loads of people because it's such a fantastic book, and it really, really surprised me. I wasn't expecting it to be as good, and it's true. Everybody was talking about how good it was, but I have a tendency to kind of shy away from the books that everybody hypes up. That's not true. That's not even true. I don't know what it was about this book. I think it was because it was experimental in that particular way, and I just wasn't in the mood for experimental, and it was so good. And the other book that surprised me was Scarborough, but I'll talk about that one in a few minutes because I have it as one of my other answers. I love this tag. It's super fun. I hope I'm getting all the questions correct. Newest favorite author. Okay, so this isn't a new author to me. I don't think I have a new to me author yet, but I will be talking about that in a few minutes because there's some authors that I really want to get to that could be new to me authors for the second half of the year. But the rediscovery of Kate Atkinson for me has been definitely a thing for this year. Like the rediscovery of Kate Atkinson, because I read Life After Life like a good decade ago, maybe more, and kind of forgot about Kate Atkinson. Like Life After Life was a good book, but now I have this whole series to read, which is very, very exciting. So that's been a very positive impact on my reading year. So I guess that's my kind of new old favorite author, and she can write. She's a really good writer. The next question is newest fictional crush. Okay, not Mr. Rochester. Let's just say, if I had fictional crushes, it wouldn't be Mr. Rochester. Maybe Jackson Brodie, perhaps. No, I don't know. I think just to talk about a book that I'm reading right now, I started My Policeman, and yes, I'm only like short way in, but Tom, the character of the policeman in this, I think he might be my new favorite crush because already I'm a little bit like, oh, Tom. Oh, Tom, you like art? Oh, Tom, you're going to teach Marion how to swim? I mean, I'm already in love with him. So I think, even though I haven't finished this book technically, I think he's my new fictional crush. Newest favorite character. I think probably Jackson Brodie. Part of the reason why these books are so successful is because he's a really great character. And then obviously Dana from Kindred. But I'm going to say something maybe controversial here as well, because I think Raskolnikov is one of my new favorite characters from Crime and Punishment. And then there's also Darby Thorne from No Exit. I don't have the book here, but she's this really badass character. And the university kid who saves a young girl. I'm not going to get into the whole plot because I've already reviewed it, but I think Darby Thorne was also a character that I really loved so far. Not Jane Eyre. Not Mr. Rochester. I don't know, guys. I'll talk more about it in my wrap-up. Like I said, I don't want to piss anyone off. Oh, and I also haven't quite finished this book. I could have talked about this in when I talked about a book that surprised you, but I think Nightbitch, also a new favorite character. I'm almost finished Nightbitch. It's really good. This also surprised me. I thought this was going to be really bad, and it's really good. I'm really enjoying it. And I'll also be talking about that in my wrap-up. So I know I'm only supposed to pick one book for each of these questions, but I'm not capable of this. It's just not possible. It's like, in my brain, it's like, pick one book, does not compute. No, je ne comprends pas, ça fait pas du sens. A book that made you cry. Okay, so I've cried, I cry easily, I think, when I'm reading. Do I cry easily? I'm not sure, but I definitely cry. I've definitely cried more than once reading, I think, Small Country, which I don't have a physical copy of because I took it out of the library, which is a story about a young boy growing up during the Rwandan genocide. He wasn't living in Rwanda, he was living in Burundi, but his mother was Rwandan and her family was Rwandan. That story was a very beautiful story and also a sad story. So, and because it's about a real event, I think that also makes it more sad. Scarborough. I definitely cried when I was reading Scarborough. This is such a fantastic book. Did it win Canada Reads? I think it might have won Canada Reads, but I don't remember. I know it was like one of the 2 finalists for Canada Reads by Catherine Hernandez, and she has a new book out, and she might be a new favorite author. I would like to read her other book. Even on the plane, I started watching the film, which was okay, but I definitely preferred the book. This book was so good. I definitely cried when I read Scarborough. Heartwarming and heartbreaking. A book that made you happy. Not very many books made me super happy. I don't think I can say the other one made me happy because it's a book about addiction. That would make me happy. The Tove Didlevson book. I mean, I just thought it was beautifully written, but yeah, it obviously didn't make me happy. So I'm gonna go with Flesh. I haven't read a lot of like happy, I don't read a lot of romances. Clearly, romance is not necessarily my genre because I do get a little annoyed by romance. But it's not true. Last year I read a romance that I really enjoyed that made me really happy, but I haven't gotten there this year, called The New Job or something. Anyway, I digress. But yeah, I was thinking about picking up Friends We Meet on Vacation or The Beach Read, or her new one. It's Emily Henry. In the meantime, this book made me really happy because it's about a dog and it's written by Virginia Woolf and it is a bit of a love story. It's written from the dog's perspective and it was just a delightful little book. And it's a very pretty cover as well. How am I supposed to pick one book with a pretty cover? Impossible. Which leads me to this last question. What is the most beautiful book you bought this year? So I guess that doesn't qualify as me buying it this year. I don't think I bought that one this year. This one I can't say because I didn't buy it. I found it in a book box, although I think this is a really cool cover. Although beautiful might not be the right word. I think I'm going to go with my most recent purchase, actually. Well, there's two that I purchased recently that have three that I purchased recently that I love the covers of. But if I have to go with the most beautiful, I'm going to say this copy of My Cousin Rachel. Isn't that a beautiful cover? It's so pretty. And I also thought that the cover of The Mercies was really beautiful. See, can't just stick to one book. And I love the cover of Sword on Bliss, which I'm also about halfway through. Oh wait, that's not the last question. I thought that was the last question. Okay, the last question is, what do you need to read by the end of 2022? All right, so already I have quite a few that I need to read by the end of 22, including another French book, if I want to hit all my goals. And I think My Cousin Rachel needs to be added to that list. As I said, I wanted to introduce myself to a new author, and I think that that new author is going to be Sarah Moss, because I've heard so many good things about her. And I picked up Ghostwall when I was away in the UK, and I had ordered The Fell from the Book Depository. So I'm going to try to read one of hers and hopefully discover her as a new author, because I've heard really great things. I definitely want to get to some of the classics on my list. I said I was prepared for this, but I'm only like partly prepared. Beloved was on there. The Master and Margarita, Brideshead Revisited, Frankenstein. Frankenstein for sure. So Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I definitely want to read this. James Baldwin, Giovanni's Room. That's on my list. Definitely want to read James Baldwin this year. Cannot let the year go by without reading it. And then a non-classic that I really want to read, or maybe not this one, maybe not Normal People, maybe Conversations with Friends, but I haven't read a Sally Rooney yet. So I think I'm going to try to read a Sally Rooney and see if I do or don't like millennial fiction. Well, I know I do because I like The Idiot. I mean, am I? I haven't decided. I kind of, yes, no, maybe so. That's it. C'est tout. That's it. Thanks everybody for sticking around. If you stayed to the end of the video, you're awesome. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now. So many books I want to read before the end of the year. It's crazy. I hope I got all those questions right. I think I'm going to go back and make sure, because if I have to redo some questions because I got the questions wrong, lordy. Questions. Oh, what? Wait, what? New favorite author? Underrated gems? Rereads? Wait, this is a different, this isn't the right one. Damn. Favorite book to movie adaptation? Favorite review you've written? Wait, there are so many different versions of this tag. Okay, I just followed the questions that were covered by Breaking the Books. Okay, I guess I left a couple out. Sorry. Okay, bye. The mid-year freak out book tag. Freak out about books or the reversal of Roe v. Wade. That's right, people. That's where we are. That's where we are in the world right now. Yeah. I woke up to that news this morning. People are still partying from last night. Last night was Saint Jean Baptiste. And meanwhile, women's rights being Taken away. What is it? Riddle me. Riddle me. Oh God, how does that go? I'll think of it after I stop filming. Given out. How many books have blown me away so far this year?